Hello, beautiful people. My name is Tavoya Conover, and I am a restoration coach, and I'm the creator of the Healing the Father Womb framework. Hello, hello. Welcome back to my little corner of the internet. I am back today in this video. We're going to go a little bit deeper into the four pillars. I feel like I kind of touched on it loosely, but I would really like to go deeper into the four pillars, explain on what a dad is supposed to provide for his daughter. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. So again, the four pillars are love, identity, worth and value, and then security. These are the things that we all as daughters need from our dad and that God wants for fathers to present to their girls. And so we're going to talk more about why these things are important and why God put them in place so we can understand more deeply how a father wound may occur, because I think it's still a little bit unclear how this can happen. So in this episode we're going to talk more about that. So the first one, I gotta stop saying so. I say so a lot. I don't like that. And the first one, a father shows a daughter unconditional love. So I'll be glancing at my notes, just so you know. Unconditional love in a consistent, healthy, and non-sexual context, right? He shows her that she's loved, she's protected, she's worthy and valuable, and he tells her that she matters just because she's his. And I don't know about you, but I still feel like a 5-year-old girl whenever my dad is around. So I hope that you had the opportunity to hear my testimony. In it, I talk about just how it was growing up with my dad. So if you saw my testimony, broken at 12, restored and healed at 35, we talked about how I found out when I was 12 that my daddy that I loved and adored was not indeed my birth dad, and hence started the creation of a father wound in me, because I didn't know this person existed and they were not in my life. Nevertheless, so we're talking about right now my actual dad, the one who raised me, the only dad I've known since I was 2, and the dad that's been present in my children's lives all of these years, right? And so when I'm with him, I feel like a 5-year-old girl. I feel so like, oh, daddy, like daddy's girl. So I was thinking about, we went to my nephew's middle school graduation, right? And I remember sitting on the bleachers inside the high school, and me and my sons, and we're sitting across, and I'm scanning the crowd. I'm looking for my daddy. I was like, oh, there's my dad. I see his hat. He likes to wear these fedora hats. That's his style. And so I see him, and I'm like, okay, at the end, we're going to go make sure I go give a hug for my daddy, because he lives further away from me, so I don't get to see him as often. So I go over there. Afterwards, I start walking towards him, and I'm like, daddy, daddy. And my dad's wife is like tapping him on the shoulder, like, someone's calling you. Because she looks back. I guess maybe she recognized my voice too. And then my dad is like, oh, hey, baby. And girl, let me just tell you, I'm melted. Okay. This grown woman with a career, business, 2 young adult adolescent children, I was just like, oh, and I just melted into his chest. I put my head on his chest, and I was just like, oh, he was hugging me. He was like, hey, baby. And it made me feel like $1,000,000. I knew my dad didn't want anything from me, right? He just loved me just because I was his daughter. And this type of love is indeed God's plan, because that's how God loves his children. He just loves us because we are his, and because he's love, right? He takes it to the next level. The Bible says that he is love. And so we love because he loves. And so he chooses dads to show daughters that type of love, that unconditional, just because you're mine kind of love. And so a father is one of the ways God chooses to reveal himself, right? In the role of father to those of us here, his children on earth. And a father's role in his family is, in this specific case we're talking about to his daughter, is one where he instills identity. And he does that because he can bring language to who this little girl is. And the type of language that he uses helps her understand how to identify herself in the world. So it basically serves as a marker to distinguish her from all those others around her. And her daddy will then affirm her identity by highlighting all the ways God has said that she is good, right? Remember in the beginning in Genesis 1, when God said he saw that all that he had made and he determined that it was very good? Just like God is the father to us all, a father shows the daughter that she is his and that she is his own, but she's also made in the image of God, both she and her dad. And so she's in turn made after her father and mother's likeness, right? This just shows you where you belong in the world. If you have someone affirm that you're mine and you're made just like me and your mom, and celebrating that fact, that makes you feel so seen and loved and appreciated. And I remember people would tell me, oh my God, Tavoya, you look just like your mother. Look like Betty Ann, spit you out. My mom's name is Betty Ann, by the way. Betty Ann, spit you out. And I'm like, no, I don't. I look like myself. But I would say that because I was trying to make my own identity in the world. But there was a level of comfort of knowing that I was in the likeness of my mother. So I knew that's where I belonged, right? Having that sense of belonging, knowing that you are good. You are made in our image and we love you and you belong here. And that's one of the ways you can separate yourself from those around you. And that's important for a child as they develop. You can kind of see how if you never had that from your dad, if you never had your father say, you are made in my likeness, you are made like me and your mom, and affirm that part of you, how that could have a damaging effect on your identity because you've never had the other half of you acknowledge that you are mine because you're an extension of me. And when the enemy started to lie to me back when I was 12, he used that identity piece to lie to me. The lies the enemy told me were, you're not lovable, your own father doesn't love you. Like, how could he not even want to see you? He has a whole child that he doesn't want to see. So I would think that about my biological father, like, well, maybe there's something wrong with me because if I'm a part of him, half of me is made up of him and he doesn't even want to see me, know that I'm okay, lay eyes on me, see that I'm healthy and strong. Like, maybe there's something wrong with me. And if this piece is missing in a little girl's life, the enemy will try to sneak in there and use that to create lies against her identity. Oh my gosh. When you do have it, and God's design is for a girl to have it. And what a gift is it to know that you're loved for who you are and whose you are before you ever do anything at all. I often think about, just for example, look at new parents. They are so often enamored with their perfect little one, even just seconds after seeing them for the first time face to face. The child has done nothing, right? The child is helpless and covered in muck and screaming usually, but they have done nothing to show themselves worthy of this overwhelming sense of love and joy that parents typically show a brand new newborn, especially if it's their first child. I know that when I had my first son, I saw him and I was just like, oh my God, you're the most amazing being that's ever been on the face of the planet. I love you forever. I will give you anything that I have. And his father felt the same, right? We both felt like, oh my God, this is so amazing. Parents, we just simply love our children because the baby is a part of us. And we know that's how God feels about us. He shows us that with his perfect love because we're made in his image, and he's chosen the father to do the same thing for a daughter and use his love, that love, to declare love for her as an effort to establish her identity. So she can now see herself in relation to who she belongs to. So a daughter's place in her father's life brings her prominence and distinction. She knows that no other little girl in a crowd is going to get the same love and adoration that she can find with her daddy. Now, all little girls, unknowingly, we are looking for this type of love and identity assignment from our fathers. Once again, it's legitimate. It's a need that has been put in place by God's design. Okay, so the other thing that a dad does is he establishes her worth and value. So the father will cultivate a value system for his daughter that she will use in the world. And this will show her how she expects the world to reply and respond to her in her presence based on how her daddy treats her. So let's take a look at the word value so we can be all on the same page. So the definition of value is to consider or rate highly, to estimate or assign a monetary worth of, or to rate and scale in usefulness, importance, or in general worth. This is how the dictionary defines value. And so I wanted to see if we could find a new type of illustration. So while I was preparing to teach on value, I studied something that we in the world we all consider valuable in our day-to-day human life in our society. And so I studied the crown jewels of the United Kingdom. This was very fascinating. I want to share this with you guys. So I don't know if you know, but I learned that the royal family owns over 100 objects worth more than $4 million. And so this is like jewelry pieces. It's the crown jewels, basically. And so it's a beautiful collection of over 23,000 gemstones, and they have been collected and protected by armed guards within the London Tower since 1660. So why are the jewels being protected? Right? Like, well, okay, so why are they protecting the jewels? Wouldn't the royal family just like to have access to the family jewels to wear whenever they felt like it? I just want to grab a crown for my leisure. Doesn't the king want his crown, or the queen need her tiara? And this is one of the most fascinating things that I found out. I found this fascinating. I don't know if you will, but it says the crown jewels do belong to the royal family and the state. However, they are not meant for daily use. They are so valuable and have such significance and importance to the family history that they are worn only during coronation services and during the state opening of Parliament. And these are very special times, right? These are not occasions that happen every day, every month. No. So to put everything in perspective, to know that they only wear these crown jewels on special occasions. So the state opening of Parliament is an annual event, which is just once a year. And coronations are held to mark a new king or queen. And just get this, a king and queen coronation has only taken place 5 times in the last 100 years. So these jewels, while they're theirs and they have access to them, they are so important and have such innate value that they only bring them out on special occasions. We're going somewhere with this. Stay tuned. We're getting somewhere. So you're like, okay, Taway, so what does a king or queen is known for being a person of innate value and worth within their monarchy and in their surrounding society. Like the cultures around them know who they are and how important they are. So therefore, there's no need for them to prove their worth by displaying some of their most valuable gifts in a very common environment. Ooh, do we get that? The environment must be worthy. The environment must be worthy. It has to be approved and validated prior to the reveal of those most precious objects. I love that. So let's tie that back to what a father does. So we're going back to a father-daughter relationship and how he teaches her worth within that relationship. As a girl grows up and she encounters the world that God has intended for her, her father will be her guide as to which things are worthy of her to even rest her attention upon. God wants her dad to tell her where she is to withhold her attention, because everything is not eligible for her time or her presence, and he will assign value to the surrounding world throughout her life. And this works for her as a guiding post as she goes out into the world. You guys, I was like, yes, God, this makes so much sense. How many of us, if we had allowed our fathers, or if we had a father at the time when we were in our young adult life, would have been in environments that we now know were not worthy of our time, of our presence, of our attention? We should have never rested our attention some places because they were indeed unworthy. And if we had a guidepost, or some of us may have had a guidepost and just decided not to listen to it, But can you see how important fathers are and that God has intended for this to be a form of protection? Wow. So we'll touch on next how a father is a protector, and we'll do that. So the last one, security. But the dad, he's assigning value to items that his daughter may encounter in her life, and he helps her develop a pattern of which things she should or should not place her worth and value in. My God. So the ultimate goal is that she would create clear boundaries that eliminate certain scenarios and objects that would wish to harm her. Just by you knowing who you are and how valuable you are and what innate worth you have, your father will say. And some girls will say things like, "Oh, dad, you're so hard. Why can't I date so and so? Oh, dad, why are you being so overprotective?" Because that is his job. Because he knows that you're his precious baby girl, and any old thing, any old environment is not good enough for his baby girl, for his daughter, for his sweet precious one. For as many girls who have had that conversation with their dad, there are even more girls who wish they had someone to say, "That's not good enough for you. He's not good enough for you. That environment is no place for my daughter. You will not be going there." What a gift. God is so intentional, guys. Like, he's so intentional, and I love him for this. So the final one, number 4, is protector. So God intends for fathers to act in the role of protector for their daughters, and he created, we can see this because he's created men generally bigger and stronger than women. And I believe that's a natural nod towards their role. But let's just take the definition of protect into mind, right? A protector is to protect is to cover or shield from exposure, injury, damage, or destruction, to maintain the status or integrity of, to foster or shield from infringement or restriction, to defend. Defend, which means to protect from harm and injury. So think about it. That's what God wants fathers to do. That he wants them to be a natural shield, protecting the women and girls in their care from the harmful forces in the world around them. Because if you are even in society today, you spent one day in the present day society, you realize that we as women, as daughters, we could use someone who has taken on the responsibility of being a shield and protector from those things that wish to harm us. It is not that we cannot navigate a world and use sense and common sense, but we are smaller than men. And I know the world, and I know this is countercultural, but I'm speaking to Christian women who are living their life by biblical principles, and I'm speaking to anyone else in the world too, because the Bible is the truth. And if you're interested in learning about God's plan, this is applicable. But God has made them bigger and stronger for a reason, because he wants them to work and be a protector, and not just because they're the protector, but no, because God is designing the father to mimic the role of God the Father, and he is our protector. So it's not arbitrary. It's not, "Oh, poor little girl, you can't do anything." No, it's loving. I want God to protect me. And because God is intentional, it is his character to have had a plan for me within my family of built-in protection, because that's what he does. That's who he is. So why would he not put that into the structure of family, which is his design? So a girl is entitled to the protection and care of her father from a very young age. Safety is her birthright. Once again, God has put this family structure into place, and safety is her birthright, never to be questioned by outsiders. She can walk and move through the earth with an expectation that her father, her lion, is there if and when necessary, to ward off danger. Her dad is also going to teach her to discern which battles she must face and which ones she can trust him to fight on her behalf. So once again, it's not that you are helpless and you're weak and incapable. No, God designed a father to be there. And I've had the privilege of watching some friends who've had a dad who was like a royal lion. I love my dad, and he's always been there. I know if I needed something, he would be there. But I have friends whose fathers take on this persona perfectly. And I remember being a freshman in college, and my college roommate I met her daddy. I think I went home with her one weekend and I met her family and the dynamics in her family. And I just knew that if anything ever went down, we can call James because he's coming. And he's coming to make sure that not just our roommate is okay, but me and everyone else in our crew. And I remember one night something happened, I don't know. And I was like, call James. And I may or may not have been under the influence of alcohol, but I do remember saying, call James, because he had presented himself in that way, right? That he was a protector of his girls. She had another sister and her mom. And so it was the three women and there was James, and if he was going to do anything else, he was going to protect and provide for those women in his family, and he meant that. And that is what we all unknowingly as girls are looking for. And like I was saying, now while we are quite capable, we still are a weaker vessel, as the word states, and not weaker in capacity, but weaker in more delicate by design. We are more delicate by design. That's the way God designed us. And so that just means that we're meant for tasks that are just not grueling, and we're not meant for tasks that are maybe drudgerous. Like, we're not meant for grueling and drudgery types of tasks. I heard this example from a lady on YouTube, Bindi Mark, and she gave an illustration. She said, let's say you have a wheelbarrow and you have a Tiffany vase and you need to move some dirt in your garden. While they're both vessels, one is better designed to move the dirt. So which would be best designed to move the dirt? The wheelbarrow, because it's built to be sturdy, it's built to be wide and not easily damaged. Women are delicate in and of themselves, and so it's still a vessel, but it's just not meant, the vase is not meant for picking up chunks of dirt. It could do it, but what would you be left with in the end? And I think we've seen that in our society. We all know women who say, I'm a strong woman, I don't need no man. And okay, well, technically, I guess you don't. Technically, you could do very physical, taxing jobs and things that require you to have to be physically just in there and tearing things down, but your vessel is going to break down quicker than that of a man, because that is his role and that's what he's designed to do. And so a dad is there to just help her decide on which of these battles are meant for me to fight and which are these better fought by my dad. Which one can my dad fight for me? And I think it is a beautiful gift and privilege for a girl to have that. And this may sound controversial, but I don't want to be rude, but I don't mind making these statements because they're truth, and I think our society, we've gotten too far away from them, hence the fatherlessness that we're facing in the world. And I personally have chosen to pick up this assignment that the Lord's given me and make this my soapbox, because I've seen the difference that it makes. I've worked with women and girls, and I see the difference that it makes when these 4 pillars are reintroduced in her life. Even if her dad is not there, they don't have a healthy relationship. Some have been able to restore relationships with their dad. Their dads are able to begin to step into the roles of these 4 pillars, and the daughter's able to receive it because wholeness and forgiveness have taken place. Restoration is possible, but these pillars are God's design. And whether you like them or not, whether they are currently trending in our society, doesn't make a difference from God's truth. So we'll keep going. So we're going to talk about what's the benefit of you having this, because if for those of you who maybe still be thinking, well, I don't need no man, I'm strong. You are indeed strong. But let's talk about how exponentially better you could be if you didn't have to. Let's listen to this. Being in a danger-free zone allows for us to have a safe environment for which you can cultivate your gifts and your talents. And what this does is it allows you to freely express yourself without fear and trepidation. You have the ability to express who God created you to be. You are sure of yourself and excited to experience life. Not timid, not insecure, not doubting your ability. And I don't know if you have you seen a little girl, just say a little girl, maybe between the ages of 1 and 5, and she is growing up with her mom and dad in the home, the way she interacts, compared to, say, someone who is in a single mom home. little girl, 1 to 5. The level of security, the level of freedom, the level of self-expression, the willing to take risks. And if faced with danger, the quickness in which she will run to her daddy. I've seen it with my goddaughter specifically, but I have nieces that are the same, and then I have other nieces who don't have their dad. And there's a difference. There's a very clear difference. And so what you want is you want to have an environment. This is God's design, right? For you to have an environment to cultivate the gifts and talents that God has put inside of you. Because what happens when you don't have that, then we have girls who grow up into women, and because they think that they don't need a man and that they're strong and they're tough, they go out into the world fighting their way, and they become embittered, they become jaded, they become burnt out because they're not able to build a life around their gifts and talents. They just have to get the work done. By any means necessary, we're going to get this work done. And my culture specifically says, I'm a strong Black woman. I don't need no man. Well, how's that working for you? As my pastor would say, how is that working for you? I think there's something to be said when you can have an environment where you can really take your time and explore the world in a safe way, full of joy and adventure in childhood. That's what it's supposed to be about. Because when you become an adult, the word tells us in this life, you will have troubles. So it's not to say that, oh, I had a dad and so my life is going to be perfect. No, we're not. We're not delusional. We're not delusional. We're just saying that this is supposed to equip you so that when you do get into life, right? Once again, you know which battles that are yours to fight, which ones you can go back to your dad to get help. You know which environments to avoid. You have the boundaries in place that you need. So you're not even traversing through disgusting and toxic environments that wish to tear you down in your worth and your identity and challenge it. You don't need to go through life that way. And you're able to create a life around your gifts and talents so that you can be the woman that God has designed you to be and not live a life of survival your entire life. If you don't have this danger-free zone, you're very likely to live in survival mode your entire life. But you know what? That doesn't have to be the case. That does not have to be the case. There is restoration. So stay tuned. We're going to talk about that too. So the core need a father is meant to fulfill in his daughter's life is something we want to take a deeper look at. And this series, I want to help us as we go on the journey towards healing and restoration. I am truly honored that God's taken my own lived experiences and my healing journey, and he's used it as a tool to foster healing for his daughters. I'm humbled and grateful for the opportunity to share a little of what the Lord has taught me over the last 10 years and counting. And I hope this video has been helpful in some way. Even if I've reached one person, I count it a success. And I would also love to invite you to take some time to reflect and comment on these 2 questions, because I know this brought up a lot, right? Because I do this work often, and these are things that we don't often take time to think about what may be missing, especially if we have experienced fatherlessness in our life, an absent father. First, I want to ask you, the first question is, what does identity mean to you? And number 2 is, who did you think of as your childhood protector? I would love to start a dialogue in the comments below as we support one another. I think this has been kind of controversial, so I'm kind of expecting a few comments. I don't know. Also, I'll be offering a free online live session where we can meet and work through these challenges together as a community, because I know this stuff is countercultural in a sense, and I would love to be able to work through it together. Not accuse each other, but work through it and heal together. So please feel free to sign up for the session if you're ready to take one small step in your healing journey and would like a group of like-minded women to walk alongside you. I do truly love you, ladies, and I pray to talk with you soon. This is Tavoya. Keep shining, keep healing, and keep becoming all you're called to be. Love you. Bye.